What we would like to do is, could you edit a video like a Netflix documentary?
I think Sora is definitely a threat to a lot of companies.
We have been looking for something like Sora. What I'm worried about is EGI.
How much revenue are you guys making?
250 crores.
Holy shit, that's a big number.
I said that let's really tone it down. My initial number was 35 people.
Why don't you hyper optimize for India?
Yeah, because it's a household income problem. You would go in Bangalore, have a ghee podi idli for 2, finish your lunch or breakfast for $250. In the US, that would be $30. We charge $30.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am with Sanket from Invideo. Sanket's he's become a friend in the last 1 year, 8 months, something like that. And it's very hard to find a software as a service success from India. Sanket actually belongs to a community of SaaS entrepreneurs in India who have figured out 1 or 2 secrets about software as a service, how to sell software across the world, how to do a good job at it. And Sanket's operating in an area that I really love, which is video. And he's been at this problem for many, many years. Sanket, thank you for coming on.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Hey everyone, before we move on to the rest of the conversation, I want to talk about the tech that makes our work faster and more creative behind the scenes. And a huge thanks to Intel for partnering with us on this video. So when it comes to editing our podcast highlights or videos, one of the biggest challenges is having control over the music. Our editors aren't really musicians, nor do they have too much experience composing music. But they know how important music is to set the tone of the video. The problem is, finding the right music online is always a pain. And even if you do find something you like, you just don't have control to customize it to fit your video perfectly. To solve that, our editors have recently started to use Audacity's new set of music generation tools on this Intel Core Ultra-powered AI PC. Let me show you how me and our editors use Audacity in action. Okay, so this is Audacity, and here's a stereo track. You can select part of it and you can say you want to just take the drums or just the bass. You can do that with the OpenVino plugin here. You can separate these different stems all on their own. It's super easy. You see how quickly that happened? Let's listen to these drums here. Not bad. And if you want to take it a step further, let's say I want to add some funky piano to it. We can do that just by typing in a prompt, funky piano. I'm going to take that section and give it an AI generated piano funk. That is nice. And here's the amazing part. I can't stress this enough. The creative landscape is shifting. Imagine all our editors with no formal music training are now able to produce music for videos using AI tools like Audacity on their Intel Core Ultra laptops. And none of this cool AI-powered creative work would be possible without the Intel Core Ultra processor's unique 3-tier performance hybrid architecture. This architecture enables AI to seamlessly boost tools like Audacity. Go click the link in the description to explore their architecture and technical details. Now back to the podcast.
I'm just going to start with the bouncer, right? What's the headline number now? How much revenue are you guys making?
It's north of 250 crores annual revenue.
That's about 30 mil?
North of that, yes.
Interesting. And that's ARR, right? Annual
Correct.
recurring revenue.
Correct.
Holy shit, that's a big number. How much of that is from India?
5%.
That's 5%?
5% of the revenue, 24% of the users.
So it's about 10 CR in revenue is coming from India, roughly. Interesting. Where's the bulk of the revenue coming from?
It's 5 countries. US takes 50% of the total revenue, and the other 4 countries are Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK. The usual suspects.
Interesting. What is the one thing that has changed in your life after the company started making so much money? What's changed?
I think I'm doing a little bit of more PR, but nothing really changes except you got to start thinking much bigger than what we were thinking. At 5, 10 range, you're thinking about 50. I can no longer think about 50. I'm now thinking about 200. I'm thinking about, actually I'm getting more audacious and thinking about how could my son's wedding be or daughter's wedding be in Jamnagar? And I've started thinking about how are they thinking and why are they thinking the way we are thinking? And I just feel that we are so tiny, even with the revenue scale that you are saying, that there's room for so much growth.
Yeah, but what's changed in the business? Because I remember there was a period where from what I'd heard in the market, Invideo was stuck at like $5-6 million in revenue, and that was a painfully excruciating while. What changed? I'm sure there was some catalyst that suddenly boosted the company to the next level.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, we had raised a ton of money, and
How much money is that?
We raised $55 million. Last Series B was $35 million. We never announced it really, but we raised $35 million. It was 2021. We hired like all these great people from McKinsey, Bain, BCG, like the top CTOs, engineers, etc., etc. And then like all of a sudden, I think like the team got very bloated, and we started doing optimizations. We started also running democracy, looking at like how US runs teams and stuff like
So
that.
culture problem tha.
And it's actually my judgment problem, right? Like what I built, like all of this happened, I was the final say, so my neck is really on the line, and it's all of that is my fault. And then we got stuck. We got stuck at, to be honest, between 5.5 to 6 for 15-16 months. We were burning north of $700,000 a month because we had money, and I think 2021 was a time when we were looking at how long the money is gonna last, and we're like, hey, it would last 3 years. Let's spend it and stuff like that. And then things were not, of course, not working. I started actually taking US trips, 2 US trips that year to think what should happen, and then and there's a lot of pressure from everyone. I mean, there was a new investor who put in like the number at 45 times revenue. And stuff like that.
So you were in trouble.
I was in shit trouble, right? Like I was in trouble beyond a point. I think we had almost hired a banker. Okay, like I think we had shook hands.
What does that signal for the audience? Hiring a banker.
Hiring a banker means like you're ready to go off, sell the company, etc., etc. Like whatever that means. To be honest, like one day I was having like vada pav in Bombay. I live in Chembur, which is like a very middle class suburb of Bombay. I was like, fuck it, I'm not selling it. I love doing what I'm doing. I want to continue building this. So I just actually like called everyone up, and I said that, hey, look, I know I screw up. It's not your fault, but we have like 80% of the Series B money in the bank, or 90% of the Series B money in the bank. I'll return like large portions of that money to you. And I want to continue running it. And I want to like give it a shot. Post that, and that conversation then started, and then we have a board, and then we have a few investors. So there was a discussion going on post that. And I said that like, fuck it, I'm going to take a break. So I scuba dive. I went on a 6-day super solo, very remote scuba diving place. And I think that is when like the company started talking to me. By the time I reached the airport, I was like, have to downsize. First thing we got to do is downsize the team.
How big was the team back then?
220 people, so quite large. Yeah. So I said that we got to downsize the team. By the time I landed, I had the team members I wanted to keep. By the time I was reaching the destination, I was calling people up and trying to align them and see what they think. And it primarily came from a place where couldn't take sharp turns, and I think we had forgotten how to think like a startup.
It's like the T-Rex problem, right? Tyrannosaurus Rex is really large, but the easy way to outrun a T-Rex is to run zigzag because it can't turn left and right very easily. Yes. So you found that as a large org, it was very hard to like steer or make any change.
No, it was impossible, no, because I'll call one person, I would get alignment with them, the third person would not say yes to that. They would have their own opinions. Now you are starting to respect opinions. In fact, when you hire these people, you start respecting them more than I was respecting myself, because they went to like IIT and IIM and whatnot. So that happened. I took a break. I said that let's really like tone it down. My initial number was like 35 people, and then I think negotiations happened to keep it at 65. Got the burn down from like 750.
Was that hard? Like that layoff?
You cry. you cry and you sleep. Like there's no choice but, right? You got to do what you got to do. There's just no choice. So you cry, you feel okay, you get up, and I think it's okay for such things to happen. I actually felt extremely bad for the people we had hired. Where are they gonna go, etc., etc. To be honest, I think like me proposing people to return the money was ahead of its time.
You proposing to the investors to return the money?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of that, where I think some of your investors also wanted their money back. right? Because you'd plateaued it for a bit.
I mean, yeah, sure. Like on the deathbed, I think people would want to cut their losses off for sure. 100%.
How did that go?
No, so like that was an ongoing story, right? Like in that period, I was like, I'm gonna really give my best shot, and I'm that kind of a person who gives his best shot. I understood that jobs to be done might be the problem, so I went ahead and hired the founder of Jobs to be done to do jobs to be done for us. So his name is Bob Moesta. He founded Jobs to be done as a term with Clayton Christensen. Luckily, he's old but doing like great work, and like we got him to do work for us. And then I said that there's definitely a product strategy problem. So we got Shreyas Doshi, and I think Shreyas Doshi is also a phenomenal person to help with product strategy at our scale. So did both of that and laid people off. So there were like very few decision makers in the room, really, and that is how it had to be done. On the other end, like I was talking to investors, I think there were camps of investors, few of them happy, few of them wanted to continue backing. There are very few investors in the world who have seen these things happen. There are various companies where they had to keep wiring bridge, and then they became a decacorn. So there are such stories, and when you see such stories, those investors are like, two of the investors have told me this is the second time they have seen it. After they saw it the first time, they wanted to see it again, and they have seen it with Invideo now. And there are a few others who are like,
I think some investors said it. I think it was Karthik Reddy or somebody, right? Who's like, even though we back a lot of winners, the stories are made when there's a loser and you give them something just over the edge and they win. That's the story. Like we tell the near-death stories.
Yes, and that's what actually makes life also very wholesome. So we are talking about high pain during those 16 months and beyond. To be honest, like that is where I learned the most. Like that is when the character got built. Like I had some character. It got refined much further then. Why? Because I was reading books. I was fighting very hard. I was working as hard as possible. I was working as smart as possible. I was trying to really push myself to like get up because there is no choice. So really the full learning in life happened then. In fact, like all the numbers that I'm saying today are actually from the work that happened in 2022. My numbers today would show like much later, and you would know like how I'm doing today really much later in life. So we did that, and we almost decided that we'll return the money. And I don't think I think more founders should do this. I don't think I did anything wrong. And I don't think that investors did anything wrong by agreeing. The company was overcapitalized. We had raised more money than what we should have, and we wouldn't have in 2021. And I believe that companies would last like 15, 20, 25 years, and you will see all the cycles. So basically, if you're a public company, you are going to get traded at like 7x multiple for sure, or 8x revenue multiple for sure.
And there'll also be times where you get traded at 40x.
Yes, and you don't let it get onto you. So that happened, and then we gave some cooling period, and did just company strategy. But from January onwards, like a couple of our releases worked. I was again doing GTM.
What is GTM for the audience?
It's go to market. So basically, how do you get users? How do you acquire users? At that time, we were doing like some 8,000 new signups a day. Okay. So when all of that like dust settled, we got to operations. By the way, like companies, when you do a layoff, companies actually get back to normal between like 15 to 45 days. You're back up and running. People in the team are motivated if you do it the right way. I think a lot of people are scared about it, and I think the right way to do it is like just get up and do it when you know that you have overhired. You're not able to be very swift. And people have said that at our offsites that basically we were a government office and no longer. Like we operate extremely swiftly now. Come January to March, we doubled the revenue. Because of our releases, because of the GTM, several things. We did several things because like a lot of things were coming onto me. A lot of people who were executing started taking decisions, and they have all been at Invideo for years now. So that became like easy. We doubled the revenue. As we doubled the revenue, I think we decided not to return. I mean, we collectively decided that it might be a great time to not return the money and continue building. And I think since then we have tripled the revenue. So we basically had an April deadline to launch the product. So we did like full-fledged strategy for 3-4 months. And I think like people say things, a lot of things get said in the world because they sound smart, but they are not true. One of them is execution eats strategy for breakfast.
I agree.
I think that's not true. Strategy is basically you're simulating a dozen of things, finding the right spot that's potentially doesn't have competitors, potentially
You're
are
looking
the
for
best.
direction.
Yeah.
Speed, you need velocity, right? Velocity has both speed and direction to describe it.
Yeah. So we picked in those 4 months, like we could pick the right segment where the competition would be less, where our superpowers get used, and where technology would support that segment.
Can you describe what that segment was?
People doing like super early on the YouTube journey. So anyone who is like super early on the YouTube journey, can't have the cameras, the lights, the edits, just those kind of people. Did not see competition.
And what does Invideo do for them?
They find the most value of video creation. They basically find the extreme value on our platform. They were already doing, there was an old way to do it. Old way to do it is like basically it would take you an hour, hour and a half to create a particular video. Our core thesis when we launched the product was quite simple. 80% of these users should get a better quality video at the end of 2 minutes on Invideo AI versus what they were already getting. Okay, so till the time we would cross the 80% mark, we would not release the product. There was just one North Star that, and there were like 2 ways to really understand the quality. One is after 7 years, I should tell if the quality of video is okay or not. And the second is you could just do some data mapping and see that is the quality higher or not. But for those set of users, at least 80% of them, Invideo AI would create a better video than what they were already creating. Okay, and I think that flywheel has worked. Like in 6 months, we have done over $21 million in revenue on just the Invideo AI product, which also potentially makes us the fastest SaaS company out of India for that time. I understand that there is a back history, and that all was completely simulated strategy.
You were poised to take advantage of AI because you already had the infra around it. You already had the tools, you already had a little bit of brand, you already had the team who had experience with AI, with video. So would you say a lot of it was right place, right time, but also strategy to know that it's right place, right time, we got to take advantage of this?
So there are 2-3 answers to this. The first answer really is a bad ball is supposed to be still like you have to hit that for a 6. Yeah. The second is really there are pros and cons. Like because of we having so much baggage, it gets extremely difficult on day to day because you have scars from the past and they are influencing your decisions. You had like a ton of users to take care of while you were building it. So there was a lot of navigation as well. So it was not like super straightforward. The third was the strategy still had to be done, right? Because we actually did not pick the most obvious answer, which was integrate AI inside the product. We actually ended up flipping and building altogether a new product, which had its own risk. Okay, so but that also has a very differentiated product offering than what a Weed does or a CapCut does or anyone else, anyone smart, any 4 people in a room who are super smart would take a particular decision. We have not taken that decision. We are opinionated about it, and that happened because of the strategy work.
Interesting. Hey, but I have a thesis around this, and this is like we've met a few times, right? So I learned this the last time we met, which is, and it's something I've learned about a lot of founders since then, which is actually really successful founders, reasonably successful founders, are actually much better at finding one distribution hack. They find one distribution hack and then they spam it, for years. And I think with that circle that I was talking about, right, the circle of founders that you're part of, you all have really cracked SEO. Yeah. And you've cracked SEO to the level that nobody else has. Yeah. And we learned, in fact, in my previous SaaS company, we learned a lot of things out of that circle, right? Because I think Sumit's brother is part of that circle. And he helped us with some of our SEO with the last company. And you have done it extremely well. Yeah. Can you tell us the hack? Can you reveal all your secrets?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is that you cannot hire a good SEO. So if you have hired someone at 20, 25, 30, 35 lakhs, that person most likely is not a good SEO, because if they were a good SEO, then they would be making 2-3 crores a year running affiliate sites.
And the best SEOs are probably like entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah, for sure. So I've learned SEO. We started building our first like link and whatever in 2019.
How does it work? Can you describe it for like a slightly more layman audience?
Yeah, sure. It's all competition, right? Like first you have to look at user intent. User intent is really keywords. Actually, before that, you want to know, is your business a push business or a pull business? Uber cannot do SEO. It's a push product. No one searched for it. So you could only do it for pull products. So do you already have an existing search volume? When you have an existing search volume,
So people looking for how do I edit a video online?
or video editor, or online video editor, or ad maker, intro maker, thousands of such keywords, really. Then you identify how large is that, and then start estimating that if I rank number 1, number 2, number 3, how much traffic do I get really, truly, okay? Once I get that, I go back and start building pages on that structure. And that structure is basically, you start making a tree that's super relevant. So you'd make a bunch of user intent pages. When you make user intent pages, I think the only thing to look at is competition. Google itself is like the best answer to what you should do. So you should really go say that I want to rank for this keyword. I can see 10 Google search results. I go through those results. I see what are the kind of pages they have built, what is the kind of content they have put, what is their authority of their domain, how many referring domains do they have. Referring domains is a Google's way to say that how many people are referring to you, saying that you are legit. Once you understand that, you want to replicate it. Once you start beating it, you don't have to beat the absolute numbers, but if you start beating the velocity in a 3-6 month time frame, you'll start ranking up.
And this is all on the back of writing great articles.
I think like you cannot really win without writing great content. You need to be a skyscraper.
And who writes content for you?
Multiple people, right? So basically, we have a playbook now, but like if I would write an article, it would rank within a week or 2 weeks for sure. What you are doing is basically understanding the user intent very deeply, trying to also structure it like that, and making sure that you are adding value to the user. It's actually super basic. What are people asking for? You could find what people are asking
And
for.
giving them your clarity of thought of what the answer should be.
Yeah, in the right way, not in the number of words way, in the right way. And then there are a dozen of techniques that you could use after that to do. But what's super important is, of course, the page speed and all of that good stuff. After that, quality of pages, quality of content, and third, how many people are really referring to you. I think that is what gets decided.
And in your opinion, or actually according to the data, how much traffic does it bring you?
It brings us, just organic traffic would be 70,000 users a day, 80,000 users a day, just pure organic.
And this is all on the back of quality writing.
Quality writing, quality pages. We get like pitched random shit. We're like, can you do a camera blog on your site? We'll pay you like $500,000 a year. Because it would now rank because
other people want your SEO now.
It's a long-term channel, and people should build long-term channels because they keep giving. There were months when like I would also say like how much money we would have spent. We were spending 40-50 lakhs a month for the first 6 months, and then really like at this point of time we might be spending like 10-12 lakh rupees.
This is on ads?
No, on SEO.
Okay.
10 lakh
What about
rupees
ads?
on SEO. Ads is another channel that we use. I don't like that channel. That's my least favorite channel.
How much do you spend there?
We'll be spending 250K, 100K on the branded keyword. So basically 150K really. Like we don't spend too much on ads. But we have to, life sucks when you have to spend for your own keyword.
Yeah,
And
that's Google's
I think
predatory
that's
practice.
not 100, that's like between 70 to 90.
So basically, for the audience, what's happening is when you search for Invideo, there are other brands now, like Invideo, CapCut, Veed, etc., that are now bidding for those keywords, trying to appear on top. And on Google, to save yourself from other people bidding on your keyword, you have to basically...
And we're spending 60, 70 lakh rupees a month on that.
just to defend your own
Yeah.
sort of
Vimeo
brand.
is actually a number one culprit.
Yeah, just it's such a predatory practice. But I guess it's all fair game.
You play by the rules.
Yeah, but yeah, it's strange to see that SaaS is like sort of a distribution problem, right? Like I wouldn't have thought of this 10 years ago when I wanted to build software in India. I was like, it's about quality of product, and it's true. Quality of product actually matters, but it doesn't matter as much as figuring out how to get 70,000 users a day coming to your app, because it's like a graveyard of things I've built where nobody's actually used it. And one last thing is, if you're ever doing like an SEO course or a small group or whatever, right? I would love to be a part, and I think the audience watching should also be a part.
For sure.
I know you don't need to do it, but I think that's a very important skill. And I think distribution, products are getting easier and easier to build. You've known this for a while, right? Like, and we've been speaking about this for a while, but distribution is the next big frontier, and writing, just the fact that you've written so well and you know what to write and it's getting you 70,000 signups a day, that's powerful.
Yeah, I think like GTM, go-to-market, is a bunch of creativity. So basically, I was working at this company in the US, okay? They were building a topical search engine. Think about like Perplexity of 2020 or 2012 or something like that, right? So basically, when you search machine learning on Google, you get like a Wikipedia machine learning article. But there are people who want to know about the top articles of machine learning. So they were building this topical search engine. And I used to work at that company called Right Relevance, and they had no users. Like 6 people, 5 people, no users, had built a product, okay? So now what happened, what I learned, and I was super young, and I've always been like on the creative side, and so I hate ads. Like you would not hear me talk about ads. I don't understand the channel, really, because I hate it. But what happened at that company was the whole article of data science, machine learning, or content marketing, whatever it is, right? The top articles of them were from the Twitter graph. So on Twitter, they would know who is great at content marketing or machine learning or data science or like any topic in the world, okay? And then throw the best articles. That was on Twitter. What I actually did was I first used just unfollow for experiments, but then we built a bot that would follow. So basically, I built a Twitter handle saying top articles of machine learning that would spit out top articles of machine learning as the feed gets updated. And then since it was built on Twitter, we would follow and unfollow everyone on Twitter who liked machine learning. And the handle spits out articles of machine learning. At one point, we had thousands of handles. You search for a topic, our handle will show up because we're like throwing relevant articles, and got to like some 3-4 million people visiting the site every day just by this hack. But it's super contextual because the company was using Twitter. They had like the Twitter data, so we could follow and follow them. Then there was a Twitter handle. But like these are the kind of things that I just love doing. And we do like some crazy things with influencer marketing and stuff like that as well. But
it's all about finding a distribution hack. And I think I wish I knew that sooner.
yeah.
And that brings me to my next question, right? SaaS in India has typically been a struggle, not because we can't build stuff. We've always had the arbitrage of being able to build things at much cheaper because our engineers here are lower priced than people outside, right? The hard problem has been bringing users. And that's why we don't see too many SaaS successes selling from India to India. I think India to India SaaS is like more of a, and reflects in your revenues, right? Only 5% of your revenues comes from India. It reflects in your revenues because it's a market size problem. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Why don't you like hyper optimize for India?
Yeah, because it's a pure, I think, household income problem. Till like you would go in Bangalore, have a ghee podi idli for 2, finish your lunch or breakfast for $250. In the US, that would be $30. We charge $30. So it's really like the problem of household income. It's gonna improve, but not at the pace at where the US is. To be honest, like if in the US you look at, different type of people, basically someone at the someone cleaning the railway station, right? Say the New York subway station. They would be cleaning while wearing the AirPods Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max and stuff like that. That doesn't happen in India, and that's really the difference. Why US pays? I think there's no other difference. There are very few companies that do that. The second thing is actually, if you look at SaaS, right? Like US talks about focus. India, you have to do multiple things because the market size is pretty small.
So you have to build like sort of an ecosystem. You have to do like 10 things.
Yeah.
I also feel like India doesn't value their time as much.
Of course.
Right? Because of the fact that everything is cheaper, right? Like, I don't know which CEO said this. I think it was Kishore Piani, who was like, it's much cheaper to hire a person than to like buy software or use AI or whatever, right? It's like, you can get a person like 15,000-20,000 rupees and he'll do the job.
Yeah.
And I think we have really built our software exports might on this philosophy that it's cheaper to hire somebody than to build out something complicated. Like, what is the formula that you picked up for India to US SaaS? Is it just pure SEO?
No, it's multiple things. But to take a step back, right? My articulation to this is we need to use the craft advantage of India versus the cost advantage. I think that needs to be thrown out of our heads that there's a cost advantage. To be honest, I think the cost advantage doesn't exist because when you hire that many people, the productivity goes down. If you ever heard of Mythical Man Month, I think companies are Mythical Man Months. And
can you explain that for the audience?
Mythical Man Month is basically the way you do math essentially is that, hey, we want to do XYZ, XYZ requires this many man hours, and for this many man hours, if we hire 10 people, will get done in 3 days instead of 30 days. That's not true because productivity goes down because there's a cost of alignment, there's a cost of communication, there's a cost of hiring.
Price's law is, there's this weird Price's law thing, right? Where the square root of the number of employees you have does 50% of the work. So you have 9 employees, 3 people do 50% of the work. If you have 4 employees, 2 people do most of the work. But if you have 100 employees, only 10 people do most of the work. So as you scale, I like to call, like, people start hiding in your company.
100%.
Right?
And the second is like what it does to people, right? Like you just lose creativity when you are throwing people at problems. You lose creativity, you become like fatter. And
constraints drive creativity?
100%. 100%. Constraints are super important. I mean,
no, the only place where this doesn't apply is if you're building an Infosys, because each project can have like 3-4 people, and then you can just have it in its own silo. But it doesn't work for a product company like ours.
I personally don't like to talk about companies like Infosys, primarily because I think the smartness quotient is probably a multiplication of all the founders in tech today. They are thinking something super large, super sharp, that makes sense for them. And we don't know like the underlying reasons why they are doing it, but I'm 100% sure that they are thinking 100 years long. Like the principles are super deep. It's all making sense for them. And they're thought through this, like extremely, extremely deep.
But we love complaining about them on Twitter because it's the easier thing to do.
Easier thing to do, right? Like, of course.
I think you only develop respect for an Infosys or actually any company at scale if you've run a company for like 4-5 years, seen the down, seen the ups, lost people's money.
And how could you not? Like, if you look at our revenue versus what they do, I'm at best a director at Infosys. At best. And I think they might be doing like groundbreaking work for sure.
Interesting. Hey, but that's a question for you, right? Like, I'm sure everyone's asked, it's the elephant in the room. Sora. Sora is out, and I think Sora is definitely a threat to a lot of companies. I'm a big believer Sora doesn't compete with you directly. Because I think you use pixels right now on Invideo AI to kind of replace out the stock footage or to kind of generate the stock footage. That's just going to be replaced with Sora. But people still need the last mile delivery, right? FX, filters, text. And I think that as a tool, you synthesize it. You're like Photoshop in a way, right? One of the largest generative AI tools right now in the world is Photoshop. Right? They use generative AI, but they're not a generative AI tool in its entirety. But so many users of Photoshop, it's just one feature in a bunch of features. So I think Sora is going to be that feature inside your platform where you will build on top of it. And 3 years later, when it inevitably becomes open source, not Sora, but something similar to Sora, you will sit on top of it and build more.
Correct.
right? Or you will own the technology. You will now dump
Correct.
Sora and you'll get on with this. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. You have a full document about it.
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and then at one point I was like, I know you want to distribute it internally at your VC firm of what would happen to us. So here's a document, you can forward it in your WhatsApp groups. Basically, like if you look at a video that has to get created, you're looking at a story, you're looking at audio, music, and then edits. What Sora gives you is clips. Our attack right now is in stock. We use iStock, everything actually, but iStock is one of our largest partners. We use iStock because we believe that companies like Runway, Pika has not crossed the uncanny valley. And that's actually one of our core beliefs, that we'll do only things.
What is the uncanny valley?
Basically, you can't like publish something with 6 fingers or like a broken nose or one eye.
It's great progress, but you know there are problems.
Yeah, you will not publish it. It's great progress. It's away from being utility in some forms. Okay, so that's why we use stock. Now, if Sora's promise remains, then it gives us an unbounded library of stocks. A user still doesn't want to prompt Sora 6 times for 6 different clips, bring it back, put music, audio, edit, and do it. It requires very fine level of work and people to focus on that, where could you edit something? Could you solve for that long tail things where you want to edit, you want to put subtitles, you want to have colors on the subtitles. Now I think OpenAI's focus is AGI. Someone has to pick a problem like this. OpenAI is not going to pick something like this. Post that, to improve on that problem and to like get the finer things done, you need a data flywheel. For data flywheel, you need people's intent, and then you need to look at all these models, fine tune them, change them to match the user intent. So that is what we would do. For example, what we would like to do is basically, could you edit a video like a Netflix documentary? Can the pause, the audio, the pauses, the transitions, all of that combined, which is then layered, so changeable across. And what I'm not scared of is Sora. I want Sora to win big time. We have been looking for something like Sora. What I'm worried about is AGI. I don't know what AGI does.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the pod started, right?
Yeah.
Which is, OpenAI might not really compete with you. They're not going to go to the last mile delivery of these tools because their goal is AGI. But if AGI comes out, we're all like, it's sort of like, what's the point of building any SaaS? What's the point of building anything if AGI comes out, right? And I have some unformed or slightly formed thoughts around AGI because I've been thinking about the problem for a year. Like for me, it's felt a lot more serious. That's why my Twitter username is waiting for AGI. I've been thinking about this for a lot more time than most other people, and we built a bunch of tools, right? We built AutoCode, which was text to code. We built Alpha CTA, which was text to images, but for YouTube thumbnails. We built Box, which is just, that's the ChatGPT wrapper. And then I tried to build a video model, but then quickly realized this is a very difficult problem, right? And now Sora is using a very different technique to do it. So I'll probably have to give it another attempt, but the price to play is like $100 million if I have to really build it as a product, right? So we said we'll build it as experiments, we'll learn, but we'll build a services org. We'll use the best state-of-the-art tools to kind of, do it as a service for other people. But I think if AGI does come, and Elon Musk tweeted today that AGI is going to come at some point by 2029, and none of what we do is going to be meaningful then. Do you have any thoughts around AGI?
I think like basically all technology revolutions were super scary at the beginning of them, but they have not turned out to be that. I think like basically with AGI right now is like all of the, we are definitely moving from a place of information to expertise. So we'll have expertise at our fingertips. Yeah. I don't think with AGI craft goes away. I also feel that like what we are talking about with AI today is, let's say it's doing 8-9% of our work. I think like with AGI it would start doing like 15% of the work. And I also believe in like human beings we are so resilient, and we also want more. Like we want more than GPT-4 clearly. And I think also I don't think like AGI would be the last thing humans will invent. So like on a very macro level, my outlook is quite positive, and I'm like, AI is like electricity. It goes much deeper than what we think, and a new kind of electricity is being invented as we are alive. And electricity did wonders for us, and it would do wonders for us. Of course, there will be some disruption, but it's still intelligence multiplier to the world, and that is what actually we have been chasing all our lives. And AGI is just like a step to that. So we'll have to like change lives, but like on a broader level, does it uh, improve life? I think so.
You know what I think? It's very strange. I think AGI will bring about utopia. Because if you are able to manufacture everything for zero, create everything for zero, and people think in the physical world AGI will not have influence, but I think it will, right? You'll have embodied robots pretty soon, and if energy is kind of free and unlimited, then take the example of farming, right? A robot pick out seeds every year from whatever plants you've grown, fruits you've grown, plant it back. I think it can do that fairly well. 100%. And computer vision is already good enough to make decisions on condition of soil, condition of weather, etc., right? In fact, it will be much smarter than us because it will know the weather prediction for the next X number of years, and it will know when to plant, when not to plant. So production will increase, right? And it will get to a point where it's zero. It's automated, right? There's no manual labor involved, so you're not paying for somebody else's manual labor to sort of, get goods and services. The only thing which are truly scarce, like things like gold or houses or like land.
I was going to talk about land. I was going to say that we should, in that case, I think it's a good idea to buy land.
Yeah, I've invested in a lot of land recently because of this, right?
Got it.
And my mom keeps asking me, like, why are you buying all these random small plots? And I'm like, AGI. And she's like, huh? So it's strange, but I truly believe that that land might be a lot more valuable. Finance influencers will disagree. But I never tell other people that, or even if I tell other people that, I caveat it with, I'm an idiot, I don't know what I'm doing. More because I actually don't know if it's going to play out to be true or not.
No, I think like cost of generating things at near zero is 100% true.
Yeah, and then we have utopia. Then I think people will create stuff for the fun of creating stuff. There's still pottery people today, right? And I think a lot of people play games because games have bounded rules, right? In any FPS game today, like a first-person shooter, you can click and headshot somebody else with an aimbot. Like there are aimbots that automatically move the pointer to a person's head and click. They're really good at it. But they're banned in the games. It's like just because something's more efficient here, and AI could be more efficient here, we won't let you use it.
It's against the spirit.
It's against the spirit of the game. So I think we'll play a lot more bounded rules. We'll be like, we can compete, but only human level competition, right? Like the Olympics. So I think we will have bounded rules where humans play a lot in. And I think entertainment. I think we'll have infinite amount of entertainment.
For sure.
And you fit in the entertainment category as Invideo, right? Like you're some way contributing to entertainment. So am I with content and everything that we're doing. It is entertainment, and I think people will consume a lot more of entertainment because they have nothing else to do. Now, whether that entertainment is going to be synthetic or real, I don't think it'll matter so much, but I think the minute you want offline physical entertainment, at least in the short next 5-10 years, you'll still go watch a play or something in real life, meet people. So I think we are going back to sort of our tribalistic nature, and I think it'll be utopia. But till that utopia comes, a lot of jobs and identities are going to get squashed in between.
Also, I think like a lot of things by the way, I have been thinking of buying land for the exact same reason, and I think it makes logical sense to buy land if this is going to happen. The second is, I think for AGI to become like full scale, I think there's an energy problem, and I think like fusion or something should be on its way to get solved. And it will have to come together for it to get super connected.
Yeah, because in the beginning, AGI will be super expensive if the energy costs are high.
Oh, I think like short term, I'm like, yeah, sure, you spoke about Sora. I think it's gonna be like $1 a minute or something like that. But yes, I think it's going to be super expensive to start with. And I actually feel that world doesn't have enough energy. And I think world doesn't have enough code because I don't think we have enough people to write code. And I think like AI would solve at least one of them, and hopefully we get fusion and then gets solved. There are like 6-7 great teams attempting to solve for energy.
I think it'll be solved at some point, and I think then you look at things that are truly scarce, right? Like everything else is artificial scarcity. Like company ka stock price is like an artificial scarcity, right? and it's based on something that's happening in the real world. If that goes to zero, if the company's revenue goes to zero, then the stock price is worth nothing. But things that are truly scarce, and real estate is not scarce. You have a lot of real estate, but nobody wants to live in some village somewhere, right? Or village is the wrong word, maybe some corner of where there's no civilization. So real estate in Indiranagar is much more valuable than real estate somewhere else.
But by the way, that's only true for India. I mean, let's not say it's only true for India. It's not true for the US. Suburban US is great. Like you couldn't live you couldn't live in Panvel when it comes to Bombay, but like the Panvel of US is New Jersey, and it's great. Like people live there.
No, I'm talking about much more remote land. I'm talking about land where it's like 10,000 acres of farmland. There's not a single grocery store. That land will always be valued less today, wherever there or here.
For sure.
So I feel like that land, if you're really going into the middle of nowhere in India, you can get land for nothing, almost nothing. Yeah. But the challenge is, how do you find land with civilization in it, right? So land with civilization where there's a toiletry system, like the entire plumbing for toilets, the entire, grocery infrastructure, power, all that will become valuable. It's the ecosystem around that's why people pay a lot more for gated communities, because like, okay, there's a gym, there's a clubhouse. Yeah. Similarly, you also want facilities like, lawmaking, etc.
In some form, that's what I meant, because in India, you go outside the city and all of these things don't exist. In the US, like you go outside the city and like miles away from the city, like you have a Costco and you have a Trader Joe's and you have a Starbucks and you have a Subway. All of that exists, and I think that connects back to really the average income.
What happens to the business then? Like, have you thought to the point where, what if AGI comes and Invideo becomes worth nothing because, let's say, everything gets automated and everything happens within OpenAI, ChatGPT? Everyone's screwed, yeah. But have you thought about that case?
I mean, you'll have to think about, like, we'll have to reinvent ourselves, essentially, for sure. But that is how world has been, right? Like, initially the films were cut on rolls, like, basically, really the film strips were cut. And then there was non-linear editing that would require large computers. Like, everyone has to reinvent themselves, and most companies would not reinvent themselves, would die. It's also almost thinking about Reliance reinventing themselves on taking over the internet of the country from petroleum. So I don't think, like, every few years, like, such things would keep happening, and I think the companies would have to evolve unless you want to become like the Bombay Dyeing family, like in some form.
Interesting. Do you have any last thoughts to leave us with? I mean, there is one question I wanted to ask you, which is, you have a thesis on how you should get angel investors on, and some angel investors that have been very valuable to your life. I want to hear about that, but I also want to hear any other thoughts you have on running a company, running a team, running an org that might be very useful for the audience. Let's talk about the angel investors first.
I mean, look, we have raised a lot of money from a lot of people, but two of my favorite stories are basically, there are two investors I really wanted. One was Gokul Rajaram, who is a very known exec in the US. Basically, Gokul knows if Gokul emails anyone in the US, they will reply within 15 minutes. And I've experienced it firsthand. And you're talking about the A-listers in the US. And Haresh Chawla, he used to be the founding CEO of Network 18 and Viacom 18. They both like said no to me, and what I did was essentially ask them that, hey, I can just wire you $20,000 and you could put in that money. And they, of course, felt that I was very persistent, and they both, like, of course, did not take my money, but ended up investing like $250K each. I do get this question enough in life, that how do I get angel investment? And sometimes my answers are two, right? Like, one is like, did you go so extreme to tell an angel investor you really truly wanted that I'll give you money to put it? And did you really want that person that much that you would do it if that person said yes? And the second is, if you haven't like pitched 60, 70 people, then I have no sympathies for you. So I think, like, you have to, a lot of people get disappointed, like, talking to 4 funds, and I'm like, no. Are you hitting 60? Are you hitting 50? And if you can't do that, then I don't have too much sympathy. To be honest, like, we got rejected like so many times from so many firms.
It's supposed to be hard.
Funny. I think, by the way, if Surge did not exist, then we would not get investment. really from any other VC in India.
Interesting.
And I'm saying Surge very specifically.
Interesting. Because of their accelerator and because they took more people?
Because it was an accelerator, it's a model where you would fund 20 companies. It's a model where it doesn't matter. Like you would take shots, more shots than what you would ideally. I don't think we would qualify, we would have qualified back in the day for a venture shot.
Interesting.
At any firm. Yeah, that's.
And do you ever think about selling the company these days?
I used to think about selling the company. Now that I have a little bit of money, I think I have everything I need. I actually keep thinking about like if I had more money, I would pay to do this job. So I don't think about selling the company. I want to build a large company once in life, for sure.
Like an institution?
Institution becomes subjective. Let's put a number to it. Let's say I want to build a $150 million in revenue business. And then I can reevaluate life when we get 200. We can reevaluate life when we plateau again or whatever. So we could reevaluate life. But I think like that's where the goal is. Everything has a price in life. I really don't know my price at this point, but I'm sure there is a price. But I'm not thinking about it. I'm really loving it. Also, I don't think like something like an AI. I don't think this level of serendipity is going to hit again. It might hit again once
So you
more.
won't get the opportunity ever.
I don't think so. And I think that this is the time to like really play your best game.
Interesting.
And it's also super fun to play the game.
Interesting. And I mean, the real AGI is the friends we made along the way. All the people we learned from, all the people we hung out with. And I think, I'm sure you know this, right? All the smartest people in the world only hang out with you once you have proven that you are worth hanging out with. And I think by building an org and getting it to the scale that you've gotten it to, you've made your mark on the world in a way already. And I think now it's just about, let's make a mark with a bigger set of an audience, with a bigger, with the next level of folks, right?
But I don't think I'm like just generally the Jensen of Nvidia's video hit me hard. I don't think I'm very smart actually, but I'm super persistent. Like I'm the kind of a person who, the quote of Will Smith, right? Like you put me on a treadmill, either I win or like I die, something like that, right? Like so I'm super persistent, and I think that's my superpower. I don't want to be known for my persistence.
I don't think intelligence will matter anymore. Like I think there was a time where people could stand up and be like, look, I'm so smart. I don't think it matters anymore. Like AI is going to beat out intelligence. In fact, I would argue that AI is not as persistent because it can't do real world backroom deals in a way.
I'm not even like, I agree to what you're saying, but I'm not even only saying from that perspective. All smart people I've hired, founders of different companies I've known, I've invested in. The thing with smart people is I think they want fast gratification. I've hired like very senior team from Uber. I've hired senior team from like top-notch companies. They just want much faster gratification. And maybe life worked like that at a Google or an Uber. I have not seen it, but we have been quite slow. Like in 7 years, we do north of 30 million rev. So it's not very fast, really, like if you place things in context. But yeah, I think they need faster gratification, and the moment gratification keeps going away, I think the problem is they think that basically people are judging them and it doesn't work. And I think persistent people like what are you gonna judge me on? Like I don't care, and then I have to get up back and fight. In fact, like I almost believe that right now we are doing great. I am not going to do well in life again.
There's going to be a down period again.
100%. I have zero doubts about it. I'm like, let me collect the energy to spend it there, but no question about it. And then again, it's going to be like great, and again, it's not going to be great, like for sure. And I'm just mentally okay with it.
Yeah. I think Jeff Bezos said this, right? Like intelligence is not in short supply, courage is.
Oh, I think so.
And it's tough to be courageous when things look bad and all your life you've been told that you can't have a failure. Like in school, college, failing is a crime. Your parents would throw you out of the house or whatever, right? Like I guess it would be very hard in Indian households. But real world is different. Like You have to fail, and you will see failures. And aborting right before a failure is probably not.
I'm telling you, I'm a different person post the plateau. Like
Yeah.
just a very different person.
Likewise. My last year wasn't that great, and I think it's taught me so much. I am who I am because of the ups and the downs.
Yes. And what it does is basically like gets you, you know, you are somewhere in life and things come to you, but you want more things, like better things, bigger things. And the thing is, you need to grow up. And the plateau in your head is actually then you're pushing yourself to grow up. And as you grow up, you start getting that. And that's the new normal. And you'll have to keep pushing back again. That's what my thinking is. I'm not sure if it's true or not.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sanket. I really enjoyed this conversation because I feel like you're one of those few people who, it's very raw when I talk to you. Like in the sense, it's like, it's as is. It's not like corporate speak. And I don't think you're going to change when you hit like 100 million revenue, 200 million revenue, whatever, right? I think you're going to be the same person. And as somebody who has, been in this ecosystem for a very long time, it's always very nice to hear of, especially a SaaS success, because it's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's very tough. And I'm also really glad that you took the AI opportunity by the reins and sort of, pivoted the company around it, because few people have the courage for it.
Yeah.
Intelligence, a lot of people had.
I think I thrive jumping off the cliff for some reason. Like comfort, I hate the comfort. The moment I don't have comfort, I don't know. I think it's how I've studied for engineering and like the conditioning happened like early on in life. But for some reason, I actually feel like I'm a fab wartime person and a pretty mediocre peacetime person.
That's it. Thank you for coming, and I hope you guys enjoyed something. Definitely go check out Invideo. I know a lot of you are, really keen on the latest video tools. So check out Invideo. They've got something really nice called Invideo AI. And yeah, definitely follow Sanket on Twitter. He keeps putting out nice wisdom on running a company. And it's, as a founder who now our team's starting to get large, it's very interesting to always listen to other founders who've run large companies, because these issues that you had of bloated talent, you got somebody from some big name college and then, or big name company, and then they just don't know how to, they don't know how to work in a small company. So I'm learning a lot of the same things. I mean, I'm handling a lot of those same things, so it's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.